Alright, hello and welcome back to another GridDB video. This is going to be our Kafka and GridDB video, meaning we would like to use Apache Kafka, which is a data streaming tool, alongside GridDB, and we want to show some demos of that. So let's look up what Apache Kafka is first. So Apache Kafka is an open source distributed event streaming platform for high performance data pipeline, streaming analytics, data integration, and mission critical application. So basically what it means is, for our example, let's say, because GridDB is for IoT type, projects. Let's say you have a bunch of sensors on the field and you want to push that data up to GridDB. An easy way to accomplish that would be through Kafka. So with Kafka, you can have the sensors emit data, and then that data will go through Kafka. Kafka will queue up all that data, and whenever you run the GridDB sync connector, so there's a sync connector and a source connector. When you run the GridDB sync connector, it'll push all that data directly into your database and save it. And you can do this live. So the event streaming, meaning you can stream live data directly into your database. And you can also do the opposite. So you can have data that already exists inside your GridDB database, and then you can stream that out towards some other application or just to your console is what we'll do in the demo. But yeah, the aim would be that you stream it elsewhere into, like, let's say some logging tool or some analytics tool or something. So for now, let's download Kafka, and then once we download that, we can start it, and then we want to grab the GridDB Kafka connector, and from there we just want to show some quick hands-on demos. Okay, so let's download Kafka first. I think the quick start has it. So it says download the Kafka and extract it. So let's go here. We can download it here, I believe. So let's go back into our terminal, wget this. All right, yeah, seems pretty hefty. I believe this is the right file. So let's tar this. Kafka. Okay. Go inside here, and let's check out the bin. Okay, so according to the docs themselves, in the quick start, it says to first run the following commands to start all services in the correct order. So first we must start the zookeeper. The zookeeper is run just via this command, so there's already a config set up for you. You don't really have to change anything. Unless you have a very specific need, but for now we're just doing a demo, right? So we'll copy and paste this, and now the zookeeper is running here on this terminal. So we will get out of that terminal. We'll also start the Kafka broker service in another terminal. So let's go into this Kafka directory and start this this one as well. All right, seems to be in order. We didn't get an error or anything, so we're good. And now let's grab the GridDB Kafka connector. So let's Google GridDB GitHub, and that's here. And you can find the repos. It's here, GridDB Kafka Connect. This GridDB Kafka connector is connected for loading data to and from database from Apache Kafka. Sounds like the right one. Clone this. So git clone. Don't make a typo. Go in here. Okay, it looks like we have to build something probably. So Maven clean install. All right, perfect. So when this is built, there will be a jar created here in this target directory. So this GridDB Kafka connector, let's copy that name. So actually no, let's actually copy this, and we want to copy it to the Kafka directory we made. There's a libs folder. We can see here in the instructions, the libs folder, and then you can start Kafka. I guess I'm gonna have to restart Kafka. So okay, let's copy this over to my temp Kafka to libs. Okay, and now let's go back here and let's restart the zookeeper and the server, or the broker. So zookeeper first. It has to be in order. So that one first, and then the broker. something failed. Sometimes it happens. Just try again, usually. Oh, maybe this failed. Okay, no, it did not. Let's see. Let's try one more time. There you go. Sometimes maybe I was going too fast. Probably this server didn't finish starting yet. Okay, anyway. So now that we got that running, we have a connection to be made between the GridDB Kafka connector and our GridDB running server. So let's head back. What we'll need to do is we'll need to go into this config. There's two files here. There's the GridDB sync properties and the GridDB source properties. So GridDB sync is you take data from elsewhere, move it through Kafka as a topic. Topic is an official name for Kafka like data payloads. And you move it through directly to GridDB and save it into GridDB. That's the sync. The source is the opposite. So GridDB source means GridDB database itself is the source of data, and it moves data out towards something. In our case, we'll just do it in the terminal so you can see that it's there. We're not going to do anything fancier than that, maybe next course. Okay, so first let's edit this GridDB sync, and then let's try to get it connected. All right, hello. So we actually had to patch in this video portion. The previous version we had issues with the config that we presented, so I'm going to re-edit here anyway. Okay, so this is a Kafka sync config like we were saying. So the first thing we'll need to do is change the config to match your running GridDB server. Since we're running in fixed-list mode in this course, we need to change a few things with the connection details. First and foremost, the host and port are not needed. Those are for multicast mode, which is the old default. That's why there might be some disparity with some official docs coming this way by default. But it's not a big deal. You can just comment it out or you can delete it. Doesn't matter. You can change the cluster name. So in this course, we're using my cluster. So yeah, cluster name does matter, of course. Username and password are the same, admin. The provider URL is for provider methods, so we also don't need that. But the notification member is the one that is needed for fixed list mode. So if you're following along and you have the default, it'll be the same as this. So it's your local port plus port of 10,001. Okay, next we're going to do the topics. So the topics are the names that we will call the payloads that we want to play around with or mess with. So you can do regex, so you can do an all-encompassing sort of catch-all sort of phrase for the sort of topics you're going to name. But it's not what we're going to do here. We're going to keep it as simple as possible. So we're going to comment this out, and we're going to stick to topics here. So we'll do device 7, device 8, device 9, and device 10. So we're going to just be very explicit. So we're going to have our Kafka sync only look for topics with these exact names. If we did regex, as I said, we would have something on that would be a catch-all. But for now, we're just doing all devices with very explicit names. So we're going to have 4 containers / topics. All right, and last thing we're going to change is in this timestamp converter format. Previously, we kept it like this, but actually GridDB requires a milliseconds in there. Otherwise, it doesn't recognize the timestamp. So we need to add a slot for milliseconds. And then we also need to change the field name. So datetime would be the default for your time series columns, time series column in your container. Sorry. In this case, actually, our time series, the row key column, the time is actually TS. And with that, we should be good. So I just did this to do a live step, but I have it all saved down underneath. If I made any errors, I will point that out, but it should be fine. Let me just delete these empty lines to see if anything else was different. So I guess we need to comment this out. Not necessary. And here I added device 7, device 8, device 9, and then we added the milliseconds here and the field time TS. Okay, perfect. Now let's go back to our original video. Save this, of course, too. Exit out of here. Let's head over to my Google Keep because I have it here. So we're going to want to set this in our path. When I mean this, I mean our Kafka working directory. So let's go back into there. So there's this bin directory here. So I want to set this into my path. And then I want to create a file called simulate sensor text. So I have this here that I will copy and paste. And I will create this folder called, or a file called simulate sensor text. And essentially here what I'm doing is I'm using that same schema that we've been using before with device 1, 2, and 3. And what I want to do is I want to simulate sensors basically. So I want to push this data into my GridDB database. So I'm going to create a container called device 7 and I'm going to push this data that's around it into the database and so forth with 8, 9, and 10, and then again. So this is meaning to simulate data out in the field, pushing data into GridDB. So let's save this. And then I also want to copy and paste this script. So this script is doing all the load for us. So script sync sh. Basically here you can see what's going on. So we're going to read in this file, simulate sensor, and we're going to use the Kafka topics to create the topic of the sensor name, which will be the device 7, device 8, device 9. And then we want to push that entire payload. So it'll read all that data, TS, sensor, CO, humidity, all that stuff from the file we just created. And it'll create a payload and it'll push it into the Kafka console producer script. And that'll push that into GridDB once I run the sync connector. So let's run this script here. So we need to run this script. And then let's run this. So here, yeah, we're actually going through the process of creating the topics into our Kafka. And then once this is done, and after we run the script, we can run the standalone. So here it is. So we want to connect standalone, and we want to use the config that already exists here, connect standalone properties. And then we want to use the GridDB sync properties along with that. So here we got to put in our path to our GridDB sync properties. And when I run this, it should hopefully read these device 7, device 8, device 9, device 10, and it should push the data that is in Kafka right now, thanks to these broker and server running, the Zookeeper, and it'll push it into GridDB. So let's actually drop into the shell first. And I think I have to delete those containers. So let's drop container. Let's not make typos here. 8, 9, 10. Okay. And now let's try to run the sync. Okay. Unexpected end of input. Okay, so I might actually have an error from something I was doing beforehand. But you do see that it is trying to read this stuff. It's just, I might have had a malformed payload in there. So if we do a search container, we will not find our device 7 or device 8 or device 9 because it didn't actually go through because of the error. So I will stop the video and I will fix that and I will come right back. All right, so I believe what I need to do is I need to delete the topics that exist here already, and I will rerun the script, and hopefully that fixes it. So I'm just going to run this for each of the topics that are already there. So I think I tried to create topics that already existed, and the ones before were malformed, and it kind of messed things up. So I'm going to delete those now. I'm going to go back and rerun the script sync, and this will create the topics again, but this time without anything blocking it. So like as you said, as I showed earlier here, I had this payload that I was trying to send up earlier that was malformed. So we're creating it again. And this time, hopefully when I run the sync connector, it'll work. Okay, so we're going to try again. We're going to run this connect standalone with the standalone properties with the sync properties. So now we can go back into our shell. So notice before when I did search container, we didn't have anything. Now if I do it again, now you can see device 7, device 8, device 9, device 10. So let's SQL select from device 7, let's say. And we have 3 results, and these are the 3 that were in that simulate censored text file. All right, sorry to jump in here kind of abruptly. I just wanted to add a section that I had omitted to record originally when recording this. So I wanted to showcase a singular payload of data being ingested into our Kafka. So the way we're doing it before is more like a batch kind of action. So we kind of sent we use the script, of course, and then the entire contents of the text file we push directly into Kafka and then to GridDB via our various tools. But this time I want to actually just show you inserting a singular row of data, which I think may help clarify how things work, and it's probably a more typical use case. So we're going to use a new script that we haven't used before. It's just the console producer, and so you can probably guess what that is. So we're using the console to produce data that we're sending to Kafka, and yeah. So let's get started. So actually first we need to edit our GridDB sync config. So I stopped that already. I still have the zookeeper and the broker running, but I stopped the sync connector because I need to edit the config. So let's do that first. Okay, so what I want to do is, before we have these topics that we used in the script, like I mentioned, so we batch added device 7, device 8, device 9, device 10. Well, let's say you want to add a new device, let's say 77. So you can add it here. And now when we run our sync connector will know to look out for topics with these explicit names. Of course, you can also use regex, as I mentioned before, but we're not going to do that, obviously. So I'm going to add an explicit device 77, okay? Let's run that, and then let's start up our sync connector again, which I have the command here because I don't want to mess up and re-record this. Okay, so start the GridDB config. No errors, and we open up a new terminal, which I have here conveniently open. And then I need to run the console producer. So if we take a look at our bin directory here, you can see a bunch of different scripts. So like stuff we've been using, like Kafka server start, zookeeper server start, Kafka topics. And here we have the Kafka console producer. And as I explained before, the console producer is, it's a data producer. So a data producer in Kafka means that it's something that sends data to the topics. It sends data to the Kafka topics, and then the topics, when they're there, then you can do whatever. You can use a sync connector to move them to a different database like GridDB, etc. So let's run the command I have saved here. So we're running the console producer. We're explicitly saying, hey, I want to target device 77, which is a topic name. And then, yeah, we're using the broker that we already have set up. And then once you do that, it just starts listening here. You can see it's just waiting for something. And in this case, it's waiting for payloads to send to our device. So let's copy this. I think I need to actually change something. So I think here, change to 77. And everything else is the same as before in our script file. It's standard stuff for our demo. Actually, okay, before we do this, let's just go over to our GridDB side and just make sure that we don't have device 77 in there. So there's no device 77. Let's start this up again. And then we have this, and it's device 77, right, in the sensor name. This part doesn't matter, the sensor name, but, you know, just for, just to have it, right? Okay, anyway. Send this, and then we're good. So now it's waiting for another one. So we can send another one too if we want to. Let's change this to, let's say we're in 2005. I don't know, whatever. Let's send this. Yep, and it's just sending there. So then we Control C. Whoops. So there was a typo. Control C to get out of there. Let's clear this. And then, so do you remember in the bin directory, I showed there's a console producer. So the opposite of producer in Kafka is the consumer. So we actually can run the consumer and see if our topics are there. So let's try that. So bin Kafka console. Oh, sorry. Sorry, a lot of typos there. Console consumer. And then, sorry, I kind of forget the topic 50, bootstrap server. Okay. And then the key thing here is we got to also add a flag from beginning. If we don't add this flag, it's just going to live listen for a topic to come in from another server or another terminal or something. But if you do from beginning, it'll read from top to bottom. So you can run this. And yep, you see here the topic we made earlier. And I think the 2025 one didn't work because it's the future. Oh, sorry. No, I'm wrong. Apologies. This is device 50. We want to look at device 77. That's why there's no, there's only one instead of the two that we have. So change this to 77. And it's ugly, but you can see there's two. So here's one. And then the second one here in 2025, the future is now. Okay. And then now last thing, let's check GridDB. And then once that's done, we're done. Then we'll go back to the original video. Okay. So let's go back to our GridDB side. Drop into the shell. Search container. You can see now here device 77. So let's show container device 77. Everything seems to be good. And then of course we can select all from 77, and we should have two rows, 2022, 2025, and the data is identical. Perfect. All right, that's all. All right, yeah, so next let's actually try, let's show the source connector. So this source connector, again, is backwards. So we have existing GridDB data, and we want to move it through Kafka. All right, so now let's go back into our GridDB connect directory, and we need to edit the config for the GridDB source. Okay, so once again, we need to edit the host and properties, or sorry, the host and port. Remove those. Cluster name needs to be changed. All right, and this time we need to set container name here. So here I will do, let's try device 1, device 2, device 3. These are pretty huge though. Okay, let's try this and then let's stop it, and then let's try a new container we make, and then we'll try a live load or something. So here in the mode, you can do batch or timestamp mode. And you also need to set this timestamp column name. So in our case, it's a TS. But yeah, so timestamp mode just means it goes through and picks up the data once. And batch mode is it tries to pick up data more than once. It tries to loop through and keep getting more data. So we're going to use timestamp mode. And device 1, device 2, device 3. Okay. All right. So our broker is still running. Our zookeeper is still running. So now I believe we need to run just run the source, and let's see if it picks up on our topics. Let's see here. So actually I have a way to list topics here. So let's try that actually. Oh, I need to go back into my Kafka directory because it's not on my path in this terminal. Let's do this. And here we can see device 10, device 7, device 8, device 9. So we don't have device 1, 2, and 3. So let's run the source thing. So it'll be the same as the when I ran the sync, but this time I am, of course, running the source. Okay, let's try that. So you can see here container info for device 2, device 3, device 1. So it seems to have worked. So stop that. And now if I list my topics, it should hopefully show up. So now you see device 1, device 2, device 3 are here now. So they are now officially inside Kafka as topics. And now if you want to see something, we can actually look at the data inside. So here, here's the command. So you use the console consumer. You select the topic name. So here I will do, let's say, device 2 from the beginning, and then you use the localhost 9092. Okay. So like I said, this has like 110,000 records, so it's going to zip through them. I just tried to stop them in a timely order. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so I know that looks like nothing, so I will stop it now. So you can see in that time span that I said my 1 sentence, it processed through 36,000 messages. And yeah, all of our data was basically streaming through. So right now it's going to the console, obviously, like I said, but yeah, the end goal, if you set this sort of system up, would be to stream, somewhere else. Yeah, last thing I want to do is I want to do a live lookin. So I want to have the list running, and then I want to insert data into the container, and then let's see it actually live update, okay? So to accomplish this, I will need to make some changes. So I'm going to go back here, and I want to edit my source file, and I want to make a new container called device 4 and create a topic for that one. Okay, and I want to go into my, I don't know about my shell. Let's exit out of here. So I have this file here from earlier in the course. I have this create containers. So here I created, let's see. Here I created device 4 and device master 2. Device master 2 is irrelevant in this case, but I wanted to create device 4, and I want to insert at least one row into there. So I believe insert data. Okay, we cover this. So I edited out a bunch of the stuff. Here it's not doing all the multi-input rows, but I am going to put one row of data in here into device 4. Okay, so let's do that. I think I want to delete that swap file because it's annoying. Okay. Okay, so Python 3.10 insert data. Okay, so we insert the data in there. So now let's go back into this, and let's go back into our Kafka directory, and now let's run the source again. And this time it'll pick up device 4 because remember I changed the config file to do device 4. And hopefully I see device 4 somewhere being done. Error while fetching metadata correlation. Device 4 not available. Okay. Let's look at our shell. Device 4 is here. Let's select from device 4. Okay, it's there. Data's in it. Let's look at our file one more time, then let's run it again. It might just be, one of those things where, okay, device 4. All right, really no reason it shouldn't work. Let's go back and let's try it again. Get container info of device 4. Okay, it might have actually worked. Okay, that might have worked. So let's list our topics again. List topics. Yeah, here we go. And device 4 is here now. So we can use the console consumer again, and we want to target device 4 from the beginning, and it should just have one record, right? Okay, so one record, temperature 52, 55 I mean. Let's go back into our Python script here, and let's do, so the timestamp is now, so it's obviously always rotating or updating because, you know, now is ever shifting. Let's change 55 to, let's say 12, just so that we're very explicit on what's happening here. So hopefully when I, actually no, I was about to make a mistake. So I need to run the, I need to run the source. I need to run the source in another terminal. That's why I had this many terminals open, I believe. So let's run the source as well. Okay, now I'm running the source. And I'm running the consumer that's going to absorb any changes to device 4, hopefully. And I've got the broker running and the zookeeper running. And if I run this insert data again, it'll update device 4 to have 2 rows in it, and hopefully we'll see that reflected in this Kafka consumer. Okay, so let's run Python 3.10.3. So single row is successfully inserted, and now you can see here our data was successfully inserted, and we can see that temperature 12.2 showed up here. Perfect. All right, that'll do it for this video. Thanks so much for watching.